Hi friends, my name is Bhavya Mangla. I'm IATF qualified auditor doing audit for the automotive sector for the last 18 years. I'm again back with a very interesting topic. What is the key difference between concession and deviation permit? Well, in general, if you look in our life, there are many words which we use interchangeably. Say, for example, principle. One is PLE, another is PAL. Now, there's a key difference between both of them. Even the spelling also looks similar and the way in which we pronounce also looks similar. So when we talk about principle PLE, basically we are talking about rule. We are talking about tenant or a basic truth. When we talk about principle with PAL, we are talking about someone who is maybe main or maybe a head person, or sometimes we call principal of a college or a school. Something similar is with another word, beside and besides. BESIDES. So when we talk about beside, our intent is next to or by the side. But when we talk about besides, we are talking about in addition to or apart from. So that is a key difference between both of them. Something similar is happening in industry also, wherein we are using certain words interchangeably, and something similar is true with concession and deviation permit. Let me give a life example. Say, for example, you go to a restaurant and you order a water. Now, maybe the restaurant does not have a bottled water and they say that we have got a RO water, will you take it? Because we don't have the mineral water. So, here we are talking about a deviation before something is happening. Now, you ordered some food, and apart from the food, you also ordered, say, for example, a lassi with salt. Now, assume that they prepare a sweet lassi instead of a salted lassi. Now, the restaurant has got two options. One is to scrap that and give you a fresh one with salted lassi. The other option is they can come to you and request you that by mistake we have made a sweet lassi instead of salted lassi. Can you accept that? We'll give you a discount of say 50%, something like that. So if we go further with respect to the definition of concession and deviation permit as per ISO 9000:2015. So when we talk about concession, it's a permission to use or release a product or a service that does not conform to specified requirement. And when we talk about deviation permit, we are talking about a permission to depart from the originally specified requirement of a product or a service prior to its realization. So when we are talking about concession, we are talking about post realization. We are talking about something which is unplanned, wherein our intention was to conform to the requirement, but something went wrong, which is not normal. And another important thing is that this is also applicable to the product or service which you have already supplied or given to the customer and what needs to be done at that particular time. When we talk about deviation permit, so primarily when we talk about deviation permit, it's a pre-realization or something which is planned, wherein we are taking a permission to make a product or a service that does not comply to the certain requirement within certain limits. Sometimes we also call it is before the event. So if I take an example of concession and deviation permit, so when we talk about concession, so assume that you did some painting of a particular product and the requirement is the painting should be have a thickness between say 30 plus minus 10 microns. So it means minimum is 20, maximum is 40. But when you check the samples, you realize that it is going below 20 and also above 40. So what needs to be done? So you have got 5,000 components. Either you need to scrap that or maybe you need to segregate each and every product, which is not practically possible. So maybe you can talk to the authorized person or maybe you can talk to the customer and request them to approve as it is, something like that. Now, to give another example with respect to deviation permit. So you purchase the bulb which is related to Philips and that is the agreement with the customer, but because of some issue the Philips bulb is not available, which you need to put into a headlamp, and the available bulb is Osram, which is of the similar quality but not approved by the customer. So one thing is that you stop the line, communicate to the customer that Philips bulb is not available. Second is that you tell that there is another bulb of Osram which is of equally good quality and you can have that particular bulb. And you can take the approval either internally from the authorized person or maybe from the customer. To talk about some of the key challenges that industry is facing with respect to deviation and concession. The first and the most important challenge is that how often, whenever we are taking any deviation or concession, we are taking the customer approval, or maybe we are communicating internally that this change is happening and there is a proper system of taking the approval with respect to that. Second and very important thing is that how often, whenever we are taking any deviation or concession, we are actually looking into the FME to see that what can be the possible failure modes, and we take into account before going ahead with deviation or concession. Well, in deviation and concession, there are a few commonalities also which are applicable in both the cases. So the first and the foremost is that in both the cases, there should be an authorized person who needs to approve that. And generally, both deviation and concession is given for a limited quantity of product and the certain time frame, and the record needs to be maintained that for how long that needs to be done and what action we are taking with respect to that. And once the time frame or the quantity is over, we need to go back to the original specification, and material needs to be properly identified while shipping it to the customer, and wherever needed, we need to take the customer notification or customer approval prior to that. So if I do a summary, when I talk about concession, it means something which has already happened, unplanned, and what needs to be done about that. When we talk about deviation permit, that is something that we are planning and that is before the event. My next video will be again in line with this control of non-conforming product, wherein I'll be talking about what are the different ways for disposition of the non-conforming material. Regularly, I'm getting a lot of feedback from your side and they are helping me to understand your expectation. So please do continue that. And in case you want to understand about this video, little bit video in more detail, you will find a link below. If you click that, you will find a blog there, and there you will find this information in much more detail. And in case you are liking these kind of videos and blogs, you can always share with your friends and colleagues. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and my website, bhavyamangla.com. Thank you.